Hello, hello.
Hello, hello.
Happy Thriving Thursday.
Happy Thursday and happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. This is
Another year young.
another year young. I love
Yes,
it.
yes.
Welcome, everyone, to the Health Spot. We are here every Thursday at noon PST. And my name is Kristen. Most people call me Kiki. I am the owner and operator of Thrive Mind Collaborative, an executive leadership coach. And I'm here today with Ariel, my friend and colleague. You want to give a quick introduction?
Yeah, I'm Ariel Hoffman and I'm making my lunch right now. It is called the lunch spot. So you're in my kitchen with me. Because I'm starving. But I basically I help people prioritize themselves through nutrition and fitness and making sure they take care of themselves, right, Kristen?
Yes, you do. You help me with this on a regular basis. I got sick, let's see, what was it, 2 days ago, and I messaged you. I am not doing my workouts. FYI, I got sick. And your response was so wonderful, reminding me to
Okay.
take to get better and not to be so hard on myself during that time. I think it's so easy to get in that mindset of, oh, I should be. But then just listening to your body, which was kind of what we talked about last time, listening to your body, that self awareness cultivates transformation. And,
Yep.
There's so many things out there that say you should be doing this, you should be doing this, but really analyzing what you need in that moment. And giving yourself what you need, learning to listen to your body.
Yeah, listening to your body is like key. I think a lot of people, especially in modern society, we lose touch with ourselves, and it's important to get back in touch,
It is. I was thinking about that, and this is such a random tangent that we did not plan on, but I'm going to go there. I was thinking about that in terms of Chat GPT. The other day, I was using Chat GPT as a tool. I had already written something and I was having it review it for me and see if I could make any shifts or changes to it. And I was thinking about how easy it might be for folks to only use AI to develop their content or whatever it is that they're using it for, and how easy it might be to avoid, kind of putting yourself into that equation. And, I mean, I've gotten those messages or, comments on social media that I'm like, oh, that was definitely generated by AI for sure. And it makes me wonder, you mentioned as people kind of our world is so fast paced and there's so many things that we should be doing. And it's easy to lose touch. It's easy to lose touch with what you need, what your authentic voice is. And even with tools like that, it's easy to kind of fall back on that and not and forget about yourself for and just use the tools, and you don't really get as good of results if you just use the tools and you don't actually integrate it with yourself and your own unique needs and lifestyle. And so anyway, I had to get AI in there somewhere. Let's start off with our wins of the week. Do you want to share your win of the
No,
week?
you're going first.
I'm gonna go first. Okay, so
Yeah, such a good one.
my win this week, I have two wins. I think from a personal standpoint, it's my birthday. That's a huge win. I'm taking the majority of the day off, other than this LinkedIn Live, which I just love these LinkedIn Lives. I could talk to you forever. So it's great to be able to get on here and have chats and talk about what we can do to help prioritize not only our health and well-being, but also ourselves and our lives. And we show up better, whether it's as a parent or as a partner or as a leader. And I was able to have the majority of my day off yesterday as well, which was great. My other big win is I was asked to be a speaker on a panel of 5 speakers for National Leadership Development Day. And I just finished up my supplemental presentation. that will go along with that kind of TED Talk style chat. I am talking about coaching as a leadership style, as a leadership skill, as a leadership tool, and how to integrate it into your leadership style. So that happens next week. It's happening on Friday. So I think that's the 28th. And if anyone's interested, you can actually register at nationalleadershipdevelopmentday.com. And there's 4 other amazing speakers with great topics. So I'm excited to listen to all of the other speakers as well. And yeah, just really excited about it. Speaking engagements are not my main source of business,
Yeah.
but I love them, and it helps me kind of gain additional skills, and I'm really excited about it. I think it'll be a really helpful topic for folks, and it'll be fun. I'm excited about it.
Well, congrats. I think that's a big deal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
What's your
prepping for your TED Talk.
Yeah, someday I'll have a
You
TED
know.
Talk. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see. It'll either be that or I'll just keep going to karaoke. What's your win this week, Ariel?
um well, I can't really think of one for myself, other than I slept last night, which was
Oh,
great.
amazing.
Uh, but I have had a couple of clients send me their most recent results. And basically, I track their measurements and their results over time. And one client just sent me a new set of photos, and she's super stoked. And it's just really fun to see clients so happy with like how they're feeling. And um, you know, she's sticking to a plan and it's working and she feels great. And then the same thing with another client of mine who I worked with this morning, and same thing. She mentioned how things are just feeling different and looser. People are commenting. Um, and it's so wonderful. That's the most rewarding part of what I do, is them noticing the changes and
Yeah.
feeling it. I think that's the biggest joy I get out of what I do. And just
Absolutely.
seeing them be happy with it, you know?
Yeah. I feel like it's so much validation for the work that you do to be able to see that shift in people. But then
Yeah.
also, I think that's part of the reason why, I mean, you and I have talked about this, but that's part of the reason why coaching is so fulfilling is you get to see people make these shifts, make these changes, and change is hard. And so there's some struggle there, I think, sometimes. But then when people start to identify the shifts and changes that they've made and they start feeling better, whether that's feeling better in their own bodies, whether that's they're, showing up as a leader and feeling confident as a leader in a new position or, whatever it is, I think watching people grow is such a miraculous thing. And it makes our work so much more fulfilling when we get to see the outcomes, and for me it inspires me to keep going.
Yeah.
I love that. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's helpful to hear too. You know?
Yeah. We talked last time about, what did we talk about last time? We talked about self-awareness and how self-awareness is the key to making a shift or making a change or implementing something new. We also talked a little bit about how customization is so important. There's so many things out there that tell us we should do something, or that, I actually saw something this morning. I was scrolling through Instagram and I got targeted, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
It was like talking about, how losing weight after having a kid can be so hard and all this stuff. And it was like trying to promote a certain way of being after having a kid and how to lose that weight. And I was thinking about it in terms of our last talk, how it's so easy when you're wanting to see a shift. It's so easy to look for something how do I make this shift in an easy way? Because making a shift is hard. And oftentimes the easy way is not what's going to work, number one. And number two, a lot of times like that ad in particular was promoting some sort of detox medication. And it just rubbed me the wrong way, I guess, because it's not about that. It's not about just taking a pill. There's no magic pill that's going to make you more confident or make you lose weight or make you do this or make you do that. It's really kind of identifying what you need and looking at your lifestyle, looking at your patterns and customizing it and finding what works for you. And so that's
Yeah.
really what we talked about last time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, and for today, we were talking about time. We're talking about time. I posted a poll on LinkedIn around, what's one of the biggest leadership challenges that you have right now? And time was the winner. Lack of time, competing priorities. And I think it's especially during summertime, I think there's so much going on, especially with parents, and finding time for your own well-being, finding time for growth, finding time for all of the things that quote unquote need to get done. Um, and so I wanted to explore that with you today because I
Yeah.
know as a client of yours, that's one of my biggest concerns, I guess, was how do I fit in these workouts and how do I fit in coaching and how do I fit in all of these things that I know I should do, that I want to do? How do I prioritize them if I don't have time? And you had a very kind of open and direct conversation with me when we had our first coaching session.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I probably won't use the exact same words, but you said something along the lines of, what excuses are you making? If this is something that is important to you, you will prioritize it. So what excuses are you making to not prioritize it, number one. And number two, let's look at your day. Let's look at your energy level. When is the best time to work out for you? It doesn't have to be at 6 a.m. in the morning, which you learned very quickly was not my best time. And so finding kind of what worked for me, number one. And then number two, letting go of so many excuses, which I think people can feel a little bit defensive when it's called an excuse. But now that you've said that, there are so many moments when I make an excuse not to do my workout or not to, you know, do something, and I will catch myself and I'm like, ooh, is that an excuse or is that reality? And if it is reality, how can I restructure or adapt so that I can still get that workout in or I can still eat a healthy meal despite the fact that now I'm driving into town and I have to get something to go? Where can I go and get that healthy meal? How can I still integrate the things that I want to integrate, that I want to prioritize? And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that with you because I'm
Yeah.
sure clients also experience that.
I have so much to say on this topic.
I know you do.
And it's interesting because yesterday I was a guest speaker for a women's networking group, and I did a little webinar for them. And the first question I threw out to them is, what is their biggest challenge when it comes to taking care of themselves? And guess what they said?
Time.
Time. It's like if we were playing Family Feud, like I think most people would get that one right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so where should I begin with this? The whole, when people say time, they look at it as there's not enough of it. I don't have time to.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sentence is completed. So you can apply that to everything you do. It's not just your own health. It's with how you know, make a date with your friends or have play dates or whatever it is. You can, or meetings,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, you can plug in literally anything to that
Yep.
first part of that sentence. I don't have time to. And what you're basically telling your brain, and there's science to back this up, is you're basically telling your brain that you're not going to do it.
Mhm.
You're not even leaving an opening. You're not
Yeah.
even considering the fact that there's a possibility that you could do something.
Yeah.
And so tying that to excuses, which is, we've talked about this, is a trigger word for some people.
Mhm.
And I've, after speaking to so many people about this particular subject, I've learned why it's such a trigger word. And it's because people associate excuse with the fact that they're not working hard enough, or
Mhm.
that they're basically, if I tell you that it's an excuse, and luckily you didn't take it this way when I said that, but that's kind of, we talked a little bit about it at the
Yeah.
time, was that it's not meant in a negative way. I'm not telling you that you're not working hard enough, or that you have this crazy day, you've got kids, you've got a business to run. Like, I get that. I'm not telling you you don't have time because you're not working hard enough. That's not what I'm telling you. Um, so I've learned kind of to rephrase it too, to kind of help people get over the hump.
Yeah.
And one way, there's an exercise I usually give clients is, and actually this was given to me when I was seeing a life coach at one point, and I did the same thing. He's like, okay, I'm going to see you at this point. I'm like, I don't even know, like, what are you talking about? I don't have time to do that. At the time
Yeah.
I was living in New York and like running from here to there and everywhere. And I was like, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. You never have time
Mhm.
if you keep telling yourself that. And so he like kind of gave it to me straight, and he said it to me, and he said, is this important to you? Do you want to reach these goals? And I said, yes. And he says, well, when can you do this?
Yeah.
And that was a really good shift, because now instead of saying, I don't have time to, or how am I going to find the time? Again, that's very negative. It's like an overwhelming emotion when you say to yourself, how am I going to do this? Right. And you're like frantically saying, how am I going to find time to fit this in? Instead of
Yeah.
saying how, you say when.
Yes.
When am I going to find the time to do that? And when you shift that word, you're forced to say, okay, when am I going to have that meeting? It's going to happen.
Yeah.
You've now literally shifted from telling yourself it's not going to happen to it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Now,
Yep.
that's something people can figure out. It might not be easy, but you can literally, again, apply this to everything you do. And I catch myself doing this all the time. Like
Yeah.
yesterday, we realized we have to take our son to the dentist. And I'm like, the first thing I said to me was like, well, how am I going to do that? Like, and I was like, nope. When? When
When?
am I going to take my son to the dentist? Okay. And then it gets your brain thinking of like, okay, well, actually, I could probably do it this day and this time, even though it feels very far. At least you've set that. It's like you've made it now a possibility. When you make things a possibility, you're more likely to follow through. So that's my long-winded 2 cents on time.
I love that. The mindset shift that you just explained, going from telling yourself it's not going to happen by saying, how am I going to do this? That really kind of overwhelmed standpoint. And just shifting that one small phrase to, when am I going to do this? When can I do this? And it gets your brain in a different, um, just coming from a different angle. It's
Yeah.
also a kinder way to talk to yourself, right? Like, I can't imagine if you were in a conversation with me and you were like, "Well, how are you gonna do it?" It's like, I don't know, right? But when can you prioritize this? When can you fit this in? When can you do this? It gives you more of a forward thinking mentality versus that period of like, nope, this isn't going to happen. I think there's also a shift there from the mindset shift standpoint. When you start to make that shift, you can start to prioritize things that help you expand time. And what
Mm-hmm.
I mean by that, you and I have talked about this a little bit, where when I started incorporating my workouts on a regular basis,
Mm-hmm.
you checked in with me. This was like a month later. We had been working together for about a month, and you were like, how is the time thing going? Like, I'm looking at your chart here and you're filling out everything. You're doing your workouts, you're getting it all in. So it seems like you've been able to prioritize it within your schedule. And I was like, I have been prioritizing it. And actually, I look forward to it because it feels like it expands time. I gain additional energy, I gain more focus, I'm able to be more productive. And I talk about this with clients in terms of, especially with executive leaders, you have so much responsibility from a leadership standpoint. So you're usually in a ton of meetings, sometimes back to back meetings. But then you also need time to be able to strategize. Where are you going? Where are you taking your team? There's also work that needs to get done, right? Like I was talking to a leader the other day about go to market strategy, that, she was trying to get this go to market strategy done, and they had reviews. Their annual review cycle happened in June, July. And she was having a hard time fitting everything in. And we took a look at her calendar and we started to make some small shifts that then allowed her to, instead of having these 15-minute or 30-minute chunks of time scattered throughout her week, she had 3 days that were really meeting focused and 2 days that ended up not really being meeting focused, where she had that time to prioritize strategy, prioritize her projects, anything that she was actually working on, heads down work time. And she didn't have to context switch and just do little pieces here and there and leave herself a breadcrumb trail, but instead had this time to really focus. And she was like, I feel like I have so much more time just because I restructured my week. And it got me thinking to, you and I talked about this, creating kind of an ideal calendar. What does your ideal week look like based on you, based on where your energy level is? When do you want to be taking meetings? When can you really be focused in that? When during your week do you really need that time to think about strategy and to work on heads down work, whatever that might be? Um, and finding ways to allow yourself to do that really work for you. And all of a sudden you can expand upon time. You can put more things in because you have that better focus and you're aligning things in a way that work for you.
Right.
And I oftentimes get folks that are like, oh, well, I can't reschedule my week. It's dependent on all the meetings that are already scheduled. And I kind of called her out. I was like, that's a bit of an excuse. You're a C-level executive. You have control here.
Yeah.
You can shift your meeting schedule. And I know it's not easy, but you can. And so it's a matter of finding those shifts that you need to make and cultivating more time and prioritizing and noticing when you're making an excuse and taking a step back and going, okay, what are the possibilities here? Where could I fit this in? Um, so I love that. I love the mindset shift that accompanies
Yeah.
it. Well,
The other thing I wanted to say about kind of expanding time, and I have something else that kind of leads into, is when you figure out, these little puzzle pieces and how you can actually fit some things in, that actually relieves you of negative energy that
yeah,
you're wasting thinking about. And I'll just use my clients as an example, but it's like my clients constantly think about, oh my God, what am I going to eat today? And like, I don't have time for lunch. There's no way I have time for lunch. I mean, but then they get to like 2 and they're starving and then they're thinking about food and like they're not focusing.
yes,
And then it carries into the evening and into the next day. And you said this to me, and most clients say this to me too. When they get to a certain point, when they've kind of figured out their balance, it's like, I don't even have to think about food really
yeah,
anymore. And I feel like I have so much more time to think about other things.
yeah.
So whether that applies to your health and nutrition or your leadership and your position in your company, what are the things that are like sucking your energy out, and like you're spending time thinking about those things rather than spending time thinking about what you want to be thinking about, focused on, yada yada. So
Yeah.
that was one thing that's how you expand time. And also, when you have more energy, you tend to be able to focus better.
Mhm.
And again, you're able to produce faster, right? So you're kind of getting things done. You're increasing your productivity. That's something I'm working on right now, is putting together a program for actually teams to show how their improved health can actually increase their productivity, and giving them back some time is part of it.
Yeah.
But you don't really know, you can't really understand that until you start to feel it, you start doing these exercises and these things. The other thing I wanted to piggyback off of, for me, time is also related to expectations,
Ah, yes.
highly tied to expectations. So people tend to think that, say, a task or a workout has to be this elongated period of time. Yeah, who has that, at a certain point? You're like, I don't have an hour to do that. There's no way. Well,
Yeah.
but if you adjusted your expectation and said, well, I actually only need this amount of time to get that done,
Yep.
it's easier to find that window of time. Again, now you've given yourself more time. So
Absolutely.
it's adjusting your expectations, and figuring out where you are in your life right now is part of that. We all have more time when we're younger versus like older, middle-aged,
Yes.
and time ebbs and flows throughout our lives when we feel like we have more of it versus less of it. And some people always feel like there's never enough. And I think that's just kind of a universal thing.
Yeah.
But if you know how to adjust your expectation with specific things that you want to fit in your life, and
Yep.
also accept that it might not be your ideal situation, but you're going to get it in anyway,
Yep.
you'd be surprised at what you can do.
Ah, I totally agree. This goes back to last week. I shared this with you, obviously, as my health coach. But I I was having a hard time last week getting my workouts in. I think my body was starting to get sick. I got sick 2 days ago, and I think towards the end of last week, I was starting to kind of feel like I might be getting sick, and I didn't really want to work out. I just wasn't. I didn't have a high energy level, and I was like, oh, I don't really want to do it. I still felt good. I wasn't sick yet, and my goal is to hit 30-minute workouts, right? So you and I have kind of set that for myself as like, that's kind of my goal, is hit that 30 minutes. That's what I can fit in. And last week I had 45 minutes to fit in my 30-minute workout. And not only did I fit in and I thought, I made all these excuses for why I couldn't do the workout. And I finally was like, nope, I'm doing it. I'm making it happen. I had about an hour and 15 minutes to do this 30-minute workout. And I spent the first 30 minutes of it making excuses, working on other things, procrastinating, telling myself, oh, this is more important. I need to get this done first. And I finally stopped and I was like, wait a minute, I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to feel better. I just need to go do the damn thing. So I
Yeah.
put my shoes on. I did it. I did my 30-minute workout. And by the end of it, I was like, well, you know what? I kind of am craving a little bit more ab work. So I think I'm going to do another little workout. And so I ended up doing 45 minutes or 50 minutes of a workout when I had been putting it off, putting it off, putting it off. And my afternoon was the most productive afternoon ever
Oh,
because
amazing.
I was able to kind of fit that in. And again, my expectation for myself was like, okay, just get this 30-minute workout done. That's all you need to focus on, is just get this 30-minute workout done. I actually chose a 28-minute workout because it like helped my brain go, okay, it's 28
Less
minutes.
than
It's not
30. Yeah.
great. And then, but I always end up spending a little bit more time like
Sure.
cooling down and stuff.
Yeah.
But then by the end of the workout, I was like, no, I want a little bit more. I want a little extra.
Yeah.
And the afternoon was so productive. It's funny how when you just shift that expectation a little bit, I think we've talked about this, like going to the gym and going, you know what, I'm going to spend 5 minutes on the treadmill. And if I want to leave the gym after that, cool, I'll leave the gym after that. I never leave the gym after 5 minutes on the treadmill.
No.
you know? But it's that expectation and finding, you know, I think there's some tricks, at least for me. There's like tricks that I have with my brain. It's like if I can just get my shoes on, that's sometimes the step that allows me to just get started. And once I get started, I'm good. And so finding ways to do that, like if I were to translate this into a coaching session with an executive leader, it would be okay, when you're scheduling time on the calendar for this heads down work, why aren't you actually spending time on the heads down work? Well, because people are messaging me on Slack or people, things always end up coming up. And it's like, okay, well, what do you need in order to focus? Turn off your notifications if that's something you need to do. Maybe even put in your, a link to the work that you need to do. Put in all of the stuff you need in that calendar event so that you can't just ignore it. But when it pops up, you click into it and everything you need to then take action is right there. It's like having your shoes right by the door. And it's like, okay, all I have to think about is put my shoes on. I don't have to think about what next, how long it's going to take me to get to the gym or how long it's going to take me to do that. Don't have to think about any of that. Like figure out what works for you and put it in that calendar invite itself so that you have no excuse, and turn off the notifications. There's ways to put schedules on, right? So those notifications are shut off during those periods of time when you're doing heads down work, and give that expectation to your team. Hey, during this time on Fridays, I'm doing heads down work. I'm not going to respond on Slack. You can ping me. I'm not going to respond during this time, right? Give that expectation. And there's like a weight that's lifted off because all of a sudden everyone knows
Yeah.
Kiki's not going to respond during this time. And I can focus my energy in a way that I need to focus it. So it's interesting, like finding those things that work for you, finding those expectations and how you shift those expectations for yourself and how you adapt in times where it's not working. Because I've had those moments where I have a great plan in place and there's a wrench that gets thrown in, whether it's a sick
Always.
kid or I'm sick or something's happening and I can't get to the thing. And then if it's a calendar invite or if it's a calendar event, you can move it. And so that's my biggest thing as well. If I can't get to something, really can't get to it, like there's something else that came up and I have to do that other thing, I will move that calendar invite. Where can I do this? When can I do this?
Yeah.
Putting it on the calendar, even if it's not in the exact time that I thought it was going to be. And I've done that with workouts too. It's like my workouts are in the middle of my day. That's what works best for me. If you have to pick up a sick kid in the middle of the day, you can't do your workout. And I had to find another time to move it to. But then I found another time. It's there. My workout link is right inside that calendar invite. I can do it. So finding what works for you and
Well, I
finding
think finding what works for you means, and what I'm interpreting too, is that it's also about making it easy for yourself.
yes.
How can you make it as easy for you as possible to like not have to think about whether or not you should or shouldn't do it? It's like, no, okay, clothes are by the door, my shoes are here, I just put on the shoes, my computer's here if I'm doing virtual, I know exactly what website to go to, and you can go through the motions and then just do it. So I think, yeah, adjusting the expectations, and then of course you hit upon my other thing, which is adaptation. And
Yeah.
that's probably one of the most important skills we can learn, is how to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned that you were able to focus after your workout so much better. And
Yeah.
I'm just going to share this with people. I'm a fan of Mel Robbins. If you don't know who she is, she's got
Wonderful.
a couple books out, and she's kind of like the female version of Tony Robbins. They're not related, even though they have the same last name. She wrote The High Five Habit, and oh my God, there's another one.
Yeah. I'll look it up.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's called, I don't know. I don't know. The name of the book is escaping me. Anyway, Mel Robbins, look her up. She has a podcast. And I just listened to an episode where she brought on a nutritionist and doctor. And the doctor's name is Amy Shaw.
Yeah.
And, I'm always listening to doctors and nutritionists and kind of hearing their take on the importance of exercise and nutrition, and if there's any other science that behind it that I could learn about, because I think that's really important to know. And especially as studies come out and science stays, keeps changing, and it's just really important to stay up to date. And that's one of the things that I do and I pride myself on. But anyway, so this doctor got into the specifics of the biology that happens and what happens in your body when you exercise, and how that's related to dopamine and serotonin and these happy hormones, and why you had that feeling. And it's all tied together, because when you exercise, you actually you up level those hormones. And then when you're happier, you are able to be more focused. You're happy. It's good. So anyway, Mel Robbins, Amy Shaw, they did an episode together. Check it out. Shout out to Mel Robbins.
I love it. The other book, the name of it is The 5-Second Rule.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Yes.
Terrible that I didn't remember that.
So that's actually, we've talked a little bit about how the morning time is not my best time. And she helped me with that, her 5-second rule, that concept of when you're laying in bed and you're like, I don't want to get up. And you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you just get out of bed and you just it does. It works. And it works for so many things. And so whether it's
every day.
Oh my gosh. One of the ways that so getting out of bed, it was a way that I was getting out of bed on a regular basis. It was literally the only way I was getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Other than having kids jump on top of me. But I realized it was also really helpful in those moments where things are really busy and you're trying to kind of translate from doing one thing to shifting to the next thing. And it helps so much in like, okay, I'm moving to this next thing. You count down from 5 and you can transition to that next thing. It almost helps with that brain transition, because it takes us a little bit of time to transition from one thing to another, whether you're working on strategy work and now you have to go into a one-on-one, whatever it might be, that transition is really hard. So for me, it's working and then leaving my office, which is my little office shed, and going inside to either eat or do a workout or whatever it might be. And that counting down from 5, I don't know what it is, but it does. It helps my brain kind of, okay, bookend. I'm done here.
Did you read the book?
Say what?
Did you read the book?
I've only skimmed it.
Okay.
I haven't read the whole thing. It's one of the books. I'm a book hoarder, and I hoard books and I skim them, and then I finally will sit down and read one from cover to cover. But usually I have like 5 books that I'm reading at any given time. I'm working on my book reading process.
Well, in the book, she does reference why 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 does not work.
No.
And why 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 does. It's really interesting. I'm not going to reveal that now. I think you all should read the book, but
I will. I'll go back and read
I didn't remember the title of that book. I'm so embarrassed.
Oh, don't be embarrassed. Yeah, I think it is one of those, it's one of those little tricks. I find that there's certain tricks that really work for me, and there's certain tricks that don't. And I think it is a matter of finding what works for you and finding what helps you take action on the things that you want to take action on.
Yeah.
Even hard, especially when it's hard.
Yeah. So what are the takeaways people should get from this today, you think?
I think the first is that mindset shift. That mindset shift of going from the overwhelmed brain, because you might really be feeling overwhelmed. I know that when I feel like I don't have enough time to do the things I want to do, it's an overwhelming feeling. And the quickest shift that you can make is, how am I going to find time to do this? And shifting that to when am I going to do this? And I think it does kind of make that shift in your brain. You're telling yourself, what you tell yourself is what you believe. And so whether that's, your narrative around your own body or how you show up at work, that's why affirmations can be so helpful as a tool for people, right? So I think that's one of the big ones is
Wait,
that.
can I just say something off of that? Because I think this was an epiphany for me that I had in my life when I heard this.
Yeah.
And I had been kind of hearing something similar, but you know when you kind of hear it finally and it like sinks in, you're like, oh my God, that totally makes sense.
Yep.
I was attending like a talk or a panel, and there was a neurologist on the panel, and he spoke about the brain acting like it literally acts as a GPS system. So whatever thought you put in as a destination is where your brain is going to map out where it's going to go. And like again, you can literally apply that to everything. So whether that's a positive result or a negative result, it's going to happen. I mean, it was just really that was really validating for me too. Like, oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. And then he went into some of the science behind it and some studies and blah blah blah. And I think that it's really true. So when you're doing this switch from how to when, you're literally setting a destination in your brain so that it will map you out to go there and give you directions on how to go there. And I think that's the important thing to kind of take away also, is that you have the power to do that.
Yes. And we don't really give, I think a lot of times, whether it's affirmations or it's our internal narrative or any of these things that sound a little fluffy.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I agree. I've had some of those epiphanies, especially in becoming a coach, where I have all of a sudden realized, oh my gosh, it is like this small little shift in my brain is cultivating a really big shift in my life. I think about that in terms of gratitude, right? Like that's one of the big ones. If you start kind of approaching life from a gratitude mindset, which is hard, right? 2 days ago when I got sick, I had plans to go supping today. I was going to go do all these things,
What's stepping?
stand up paddleboarding.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know that there was an acronym for that. Now I do.
Oh my gosh, it's one of my favorite things. And I don't know that I'm going to get out and do it today. I still feel pretty sick, but this weekend, hopefully, it's supposed to be a warm weekend. So I'm hoping to get out and do it. What was my point? Oh, I was feeling 2 days ago, I was just feeling a little down. I was like, oh man, like great birthday present. I'm sick for my birthday, right? And the moment that and I had a little pity party for myself. I don't think that that's bad, right? Like I had a little moment where I was like, this is shitty. And I was, kind of the victim of the situation. And I made the shift. I made the decision to make a mental shift of what can I be grateful for? And the first thing was, oh my gosh, I had yesterday and today basically blocked on my calendar because it was my birthday. And I happened to get sick yesterday and I had the time to be able to recover. I had the time. I laid in bed all day yesterday. I did not do a single thing yesterday other than laying in bed. I read my book. I watched a show. Actually, I binged a show. And it was wonderful. It was a wonderful way to kind of take care of myself. And that shifted so many things. Instead of feeling shitty about being sick, instead of feeling like, oh, I should be doing all of these other things and kind of getting down on myself for not doing those other things, every time something like that would seep in, I was like, no, no, no. But I'm so grateful. I don't have to do any of that today. I didn't have to cancel any client meetings. I didn't have to do anything other than take care of myself yesterday. And that mental shift cultivated such a shift in how I felt. It allowed me to really take some downtime. So it's like that the mindset work can seem a little fluffy, but the moment that you figure out how to tap into that, it is one of the most powerful tools to be able to then take action, which I think we talked about a few weeks ago. We talked about how oftentimes we wait for that motivation. It creates motivation as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so the mindset stuff I think is a huge takeaway. I think the other thing that I would say is, taking some time to cultivate awareness around what are the things that you want to prioritize in your life and where, when can you prioritize those things? And it might not all come together at once. I
Mm-mm.
created my ideal calendar back in May. of when am I going to work? When am I working out? When am I spending time with my kids? A great tip, by the way, is looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If you
Yeah.
look at that and use and create an ideal calendar based off of that, you're in a really good place. You can kind of see where you should be spending the majority of your time and what that looks like. Um, and then how do you integrate work around that? How do you integrate parenting around that? How do you integrate all these other things around what you need? First, prioritize you and finding a way to make that reality, even if it's just small shifts. Like I started with such small shifts, and I'm now in a place where I'm working off of an ideal calendar. I have the time. I don't feel like I'm ever searching for time to take care of myself. I have those blocks on my calendar. But it took a while. May was when I created that ideal calendar, and little shifts happened over June and into July. But I'm now working off of that ideal calendar and thinking back to where I was previously, feeling so overwhelmed, feeling like I had no energy, no time, to now feeling like I have an abundance of time. Yeah, of course, there's those days where I feel a little bit more rushed, but finding what works for you and finding what works for your energy level. Do you wake up, ready to go in the mornings? Then what do you want to do? What's that first thing that you can do in the morning? Is it work? Is it getting work done so that then you have time for yourself? Is it getting your workout in? How do you work? How does your brain work? And what does an ideal schedule look like for you? And what are the small shifts you can start making today to figure out when you are going to prioritize yourself and all of the other to do things that come after you?
Mm-hmm. I like those takeaways. I think also the final takeaway I'll share from all of that is that we are, you know, bombarded with technology and stimulation all the time that makes us feel like, FOMO, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, part of my practice is really teaching people how to get back to being human and like getting back to basics. And do you need to look at your phone as the first thing in the morning? Is that necessary? I mean, there are studies that show that starts your day off with high cortisol levels.
Yeah.
So again, going back to being more simplistic too, is not just what your priorities are, but you know, what can wait, and you know, can you take 5 minutes to
Can always.
breathe some fresh air and look outside in the morning and go outside? Um, the answer is yes, you can,
Mhm.
to put it bluntly. But I get it. It's difficult to make that shift. But anyway, I think going back to human and being human and letting go of devices and things for a little bit is
Yeah.
very healthy.
I just realized it would be really helpful to put together um, a little list for folks of some of the things like that. I love that tip of, especially that are like science-backed research that supports, hey, looking at your phone is the very first thing. That used to be my routine every morning. Was I, again, not a morning person, so anything I could do to stay in bed a little bit longer. And it was like, oh, I'll just grab my phone and I'll mentally prepare for my day. I do still do that in the evenings. So before I plug my phone in, I will look at my calendar for the next day and just mentally prepare. This is what I have tomorrow. But in the mornings, that's my time to sip my tea. It's my time to get outside. It's my time to just kind of take a breath or five, and finding those things that help you cultivate energy and focus. It's not always what our habits are. I think, especially with phones and with technology, it's easy to get into the habit of looking at your phone every morning, and it might even feel like it's beneficial. How can you shift that a little bit so
Mhm.
that you're looking at your phone? Now I look at my phone, I look at my schedule when I get into my office. So at 8:30 in the morning, once the kids are at school, everyone's kind of, you know, where they need to be, then I look at my schedule and I figure out, okay, what are the things that I need to know for today? Oh, so many happy birthday messages. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, yay.
I made it through without crying today. Oh man, if you
Yay.
saw my LinkedIn post, I bawled this morning, not in a bad way, but so many kind messages from everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So great. Well, I think we're at that time where we're going to wrap up
Yeah.
today's lunch hour.
I hope everyone got a bite to eat. If it's after lunch, I hope you took some time for yourself. If you haven't taken time for yourself today, everyone deserves to take 5. So go take a couple minutes,
Yeah.
get out in nature if you can, even if that's just in the middle of a city. Get some
Yep.
fresh air as much as possible
Yeah.
and take care of yourselves this weekend.
Yeah. And just if you guys want to keep up with us, go to my website. You can jump on my newsletter. I write something each week. I have a fun one coming out tomorrow with some news and something I've been working on. So jump on that, get on my list, and stay up to date. Stay up to date with what I'm up to, what we're up to. And Kristen?
Yes, my website is right there. Definitely check it out. And I'm actually working on a resource for folks to be able to download from my website that incorporates some of the things that we've been talking about. So stay up to date with us. Make sure and come to our LinkedIn Lives. Usually, this is the first spot we launch and talk about things. So it was great to have y'all here. Thank you so much for being here. And if you're watching the recording, definitely hit us up. Let us know if you have any topic requests or anything that you're interested in. We would love to know what you need in order to thrive. So, what's hindering you from thriving? What's hindering you from taking care of yourself? What are ways that you'd like to better take care of yourself? What are things that you want to learn in regards to your own health and how that can improve not only your life and your well-being, but also in everything that you do, whether it's leadership, parenting, partnering. If there's anything that you're interested in or struggling with, definitely hit us up. Let us know. We're here to help.
All right.
Well,
Awesome. Bye,
it's so nice
everyone.
to meet you, Aria. So lovely to see everyone in the comments. We'll talk to y'all soon. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye.